Ladies and gentlemen, what the world has been waiting for, what the world needs now, the one, the only, amazing, original Johnny Blaze. Often imitated, but never duplicated. There's Johnny.
Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to welcome you all to the amazing original Johnny Blaze show. It's always great to be here as I blaze right in with my karate kick. Let's have a blazing hot fun time. A man tried to get a job in sales, and the manager told him, "Prove to me you're a great salesman. I want you to take this laptop and try to sell it to me." The man took the manager's laptop and walked out of his office. 2 hours later, he called the manager. "Give me $500 and I'll give you back your laptop." How many corporate attorneys does it take to change a light bulb? Who knows? You need 10 grand just to lobby for the research grant. A lawyer was sitting in his office one day when the devil began to speak. "Every offer I make always has a catch, so I will speak to you directly. Sign this contract on the dotted line. You will become a billionaire, live to be 100, and possess anything you desire. Then you will die and go to hell with all the other greedy lawyers who lost their souls." The lawyer considered the offer and then spoke up. "Okay, now what's the catch?" "It took a lot of effort, but after all these years, I finally lost 100 pounds. I got divorced." We have a blazing hot fun show with a special guest. She is an award-winning actress, a producer, a director, and a voiceover and commercial artist. Please give a big warm welcome and say hello to the one and only ARIA MCKENNA.
Hi, how are you doing?
Hi. Okay, you welcome to the amazing
Good.
Original Johnny Blaze show.
Thank you.
Well,
Thank you.
You're looking, you got a nice smile. You're looking pretty, beautiful hair. Yeah.
Well, I appreciate that.
Yeah, I like that. It was good. ARIA, give me a rundown. Tell me about the ARIA MCKENNA story. How did you get started in entertainment and where are you from?
Well, first of all, I am from Florida. I'm originally from Gainesville, Florida. And I knew as a, are we rolling right now or?
Oh yeah, we're on.
Okay, I just want to make sure. like how much of a rundown do we need? So originally from Gainesville, and but I always knew that I wanted to be an actress at a very early age, and I ended up going to the American Academy of Dramatic Arts out in Los Angeles after I graduated from high school in Rome, Italy. So that was my first legitimate acting classes were out there. And I actually first got my start when I moved to LA. I did a lot of stand-in work and I did stand-in work, some extra work, and learned my way around a set and got a sense of how things worked before actually going into acting school. But I'm a graduate from the American Academy of Dramatic Arts and stayed in LA for about 7 years and did some Shakespeare and went up and did an internship at Shakespeare Santa Cruz as well, which absolutely love. Santa Cruz is such. Have you ever been up to Northern California?
To Santa Cruz?
Northern California in general.
Or Northern California? I think in the past I went to San Simeon. I went there. I've also been to Ventura, of course. That's northern. Been to a few places.
Ventura?
Yeah, that's north.
What's that?
That's north from here. Ventura, California.
Uh-huh.
And
Well,
also, pardon me?
Are you in LA? Where are you?
Yeah, I'm in San Fernando Valley in Northridge.
Oh, okay.
And you're in Florida. Okay.
Yeah.
In Gainesville, Florida.
Yeah. So originally from Gainesville, Gainesville to Rome, to Los Angeles, to Santa Cruz, and then came back to Florida. And my family had moved to a little town called St. Augustine, which is not so little anymore, but a really beautiful place. The first city in the country, actually, the first town that was founded by the Spanish. So that's where I'm at right now is St. Augustine. But I went up to New York and did quite a bit up in New York City before coming back down to Florida. So I've been, getting around. Excuse me.
That's what it sounds like. You get around, ARIA.
I feel like that. But yeah, so up in New York, that's where I really got to cut my teeth in some nice film work, and did a bunch of shorts and did a feature film and got started in some TV projects as well up in New York City. And I really love the energy of the city. When I first went out there just to explore it and see if that was a place that I wanted to go to as a next step. When I went on auditions in New York, the energy in the room was just so much better. It just felt like I was there to act and not just to be judged and on appearance alone. And so I really felt like I was able to do better work because I felt like people were there for the right reasons. So I loved that. But I was up in New York for about 20 years and have a daughter that is now 21 going to Fashion Institute of Technology up there. Yeah.
That's quite a background. That's something to be proud of.
Thank you. Yeah. But, along the way, I ended up really realizing that I wanted to know that the work that I was doing was going to have a significant impact, especially as my daughter was growing up. And there were a lot of issues I was concerned about in the world. And so it really led me into a segue into climate and doing a lot of work around climate. And so now I'm really fusing a lot of my passions together when it comes to being involved in media and the entertainment industry and storytelling and the impact that storytelling can have, and integrating everything I've learned from working with scientists, being trained by Al Gore, lobbying with the American Sustainable Business Council, Citizens Climate Lobby. So I have been really diving into how can the work that I do have more impact and getting more involved with the projects on that more conceptual basis. Because as an actor, I felt like I didn't have a lot of choice when it comes to the impact of the work that I was doing. So this is allowing me to get more involved with the impact and feel more personal in what I'm expressing, as opposed to.
Well, yeah, you're the founder and producer of the Global, what is it, Global Productions?
Global
Cooling Productions.
Yeah,
right.
Global Cooling Productions. That's right.
Tell me, how did you get started on that? What is involved in that? And also, what's the difference between global cooling and global warming?
Well, global cooling is my optimistic spin on where we're at, because we know that the planet is warming, unfortunately, and the impacts of that are much more serious and urgent than I think a lot of people understand at this point in time. And so I feel like it gets very overwhelming because, how can you possibly have an impact on, if the entire planet's warming, what can a single human being do about that? And if you don't feel like there's anything you can do, then there's no point in getting involved and really making a difference. And so, me thinking of the idea of global cooling is, okay, well, what if we did get together? What if enough people were involved and felt like there was something that they could do, and they were armed with enough information and some inspiration to get involved? Then what would we actually be capable of? So that has helped open up that rabbit hole of me exploring all these issues, getting involved myself, going to protests, getting political, and then really working with a lot of climate scientists around the world who are engaged in a lot of different solutions. So that's now I get to bring that to the table when it comes to creating the stories and knowing how down the road to connect people to the organizations that are really making a difference.
That sounds like it's very important work. Yeah. And you're doing a great job of it, it sounds like. Yeah.
Well, I appreciate that. It's, there's been a lot of time when it comes to, excuse me, just the fruition and the ideas and the creative brainstorming. And now I'm really excited about the stage that I'm in right now, because I feel like I've been gathering some nice partners to help me bring a TV series I've been working on for some time into fruition.
Oh,
so
what kind of TV series are you working on?
Yeah. It's in development stage right now, and I got the idea for it quite a few years ago.
Okay.
And Jeff Abigov got involved with it. He was a writer, producer, co-creator on, I'm just throwing that out, not on all of these shows, all of those titles, but in various capacities. He was a writer on Cheers.
Oh.
He was involved with the Golden Girls, Roseanne, 2.5 Men.
Oh.
So him and I got together and had a bit of a meeting of the minds when it comes to how do we tell a story that would have the kind of impact that we want it to have, but in a really exciting way that doesn't feel like work, where people really want to show up and they want that sense of being entertained and having that sort of escape from their life, but at the same time, it's a nice vehicle where people can be educated. So it's called Revolution Earth. And now Jeff has very generously said, go run with it, do what you want with it. And so now I have been creating some nice partnerships. I've got Climate Content Alliance is involved. And also Count Us In is another organization that was involved with Leonardo DiCaprio's Don't Look Up. They were involved in creating the outreach campaign and the impact strategy. So I'm really looking forward to working with them as well.
You're establishing some great networking and great contacts. That's what you're telling me.
Yeah. The point is to really have the impact. And I think a lot of people out there really want to be involved and feeling like the work they're doing is going to help make the world a better place. So that's the idea. And, all things willing, that's what we'll be able to do. So that's the goal here. And I'm pretty excited about where it's at. But there's a lot more to do to really make things take it to the next level.
You're moving forward. You're doing great. Let me ask you something. What kind of roles as an actress do you prefer playing? Do you prefer doing like scary movies or documentaries or comedies or science fiction, or what are the
Well, I've done a little bit of all of those. And I think the thing, when I was most focused on my acting career, the things that I really loved were just very emotional, gritty. You get to really sink your teeth into it. I played a lot of damaged women. I think there's been a certain amount of like damaged yet very strong, passionate women. And it's an interesting phenomenon to me that can feel so fulfilling to play roles like that. But it definitely was something I gravitated toward and tend to get cast in.
You like to do more outgoing and strong. When you say the dramatic roles, comedies, or science fiction, what do you? What exactly?
I mean, I've done some, it's so interesting because I feel like I always had a tendency to gravitate toward dramatic roles, but yet the skill set that works for drama also can translate very well to comedy. So I never really strived for those comedic roles, but when I got cast in them, I did have a great deal of fun in them, and I think that it translates quite well.
Great.
Yeah.
So you're multi-talented. You don't limit yourself to just a dramatic and do comedy, and you'll do almost anything, it sounds like.
Yeah, I mean, I think that the thing is right now I really want to have an impact. I do also do voiceovers. I do some commercial voiceovers. It's nice that helps pay some bills, and that's always really good. But it's kind of fun,
voiceover work. Apparently, yeah. I wonder how you get prepared for voiceover work, and how do you get into the character?
Well, that's a great question. I actually taught voiceovers for about 15 years as well, and created voiceover demos for students in New York City. And I approached it very much by integrating basic acting technique and just, there's a technique you need to know about how far away to be from the mic and things like that. There's some technical things. But it's also just about trying to get out of your head about it being a commercial and imagining that real person that you're talking to so that it can be an engaging, real conversation, and having a sense of what is the tone we're going for here. What's the energy of the piece. And so it's very I think it's pretty straightforward in a lot of ways. And yet it can be way harder than you would expect it to be because of the nature of recognizing that, I'm doing a voiceover and this is a commercial and I'm trying to sell something. So trying to sell without selling is a balance when it comes to figuring out what kind of tone and style the commercial has. Well,
there must be a way that you keep your voice going and everything, and keep your voice healthy for doing it.
Well, I think I'm constantly working on that. I've got some allergies, so so it can be a challenge sometimes. This is true.
What are your standout voiceover work that you've done? Any ones that can stand out? Any of the roles that you have, and what is the secret for somebody they want to nail an audition? They really want to be successful in voiceover work.
Secret for nailing an audition? That's a great question. I mean, I think it takes a little time. There's a lot of different techniques that can be helpful, and every person I think is unique in terms of what they need. There are some people who get behind a mic and they overdo it, and then they need to get brought down. And then other people are really flat. And so they need to be brought up and be given some techniques to give them a little more vocal modulation so that they can really engage the listener. But what's underneath all of it is trying to connect with some sense of authenticity to me. And, a lot of voiceovers in more recent times have turned more natural, more authentic. And so that's really the approach that I like to have for it. And so understanding how to believe what you're saying, to me, is what's at the heart of it, is you believing it yourself. And then that makes it easier for others to believe you too.
Well, yeah, you want something that's believable. It makes sense. And get into the character. Yeah. There must be a way you get into the character. And also, have you ever done any computer animation, any cartooning kind of voiceovers work at all?
No, I haven't. That's probably the one thing that I haven't really done. I've done some audiobooks, which is so fun, just incredible, because
you get an audiobook and what's involved in doing audiobooks. Yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah, it's I find some of the most challenging work because you've got so many different characters to keep track of. And so over the course of the book, trying to, maybe there was someone who showed up in chapter 1 and then they show up again in chapter 20, and trying to make sure that you don't end up inventing different people. So I think audiobooks are really challenging and just incredibly fun to dig into, because it really tests your chops, because you get to narrate and you get to be all these different people at the same time. But I got involved with that through Audible and put up a demo, and then started getting some auditions and got some work. And it's just super, super fun. Yeah.
That sounds neat. That sounds very nifty. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
And
Yeah.
I've done some documentaries as well.
Well, yeah.
And
Really?
yeah.
Tell me about some of the documentaries that you've done.
Oh, I'm trying to remember the names. I think I did some stuff that's not even up on IMDb. And so now I'm trying to remember what the names of these projects were. And I feel like I'm blanking right now.
Yeah.
And I also did some content for the Future of Cities, which was super fun. That was a book for Peter Plastrick, and I'm trying to remember his partner's name, but they wrote a book about greening cities. And so I did a piece for them to help promote their book. And that was a bit of a documentary tone, but rather short. But I also did a documentary, the two Escobars. I did just a bit, I did a little bit in that, and also helped with the casting of that, which was part of ESPN's, they've got a sports series.
Oh. What's your most challenging role now as a voiceover artist, and also for audio and audiobooks? And also you can even go into acting also. One of the most challenging roles in all of them that you've had.
Most challenging roles. I would say in general, audiobooks are the most challenging, probably. But also the most fun in so many ways. But also, I played Sandra Penny in Brilliant Mistakes, which was a feature film that opened at Rhode Island International Film Expo and Film Festival. And that was... it was a meaty one. It was just a very meaty character. And the woman, she drinks a lot. She, her daughter ends up in a coma from a car accident. And she ends up, in order to feel like she is getting closer to her daughter, who she can't communicate with, ends up creating a very close relationship with her daughter's boyfriend. Oh. And then from there, she ends up getting a bit inappropriate.
So would you say that the title describes partially what the synopsis of the story is? Like, the mistakes were brilliant, or?
Yeah, I would say so. I would say so. And that, really terrible things can happen, that feel really terrible and extremely difficult, excruciating to get through, but that we have to find growth on the other side of these life challenges, is really the essence behind the whole concept of Brilliant Mistakes.
Okay, that sounds interesting. You must have some. There was another one. I don't remember the name of it exactly, but It was another one that was, I think, that you're well known for in your filming career. Think of any,
For film?
yeah, for film. I know you've had 16 roles as an actress. I do know.
Yeah, I've had a few, and that's and it really is interesting when looking at that and remembering how many things never actually made it onto IMDb. I should definitely probably be adding some things. Well, I did some TV as well. Some haunting, a haunting, the haunting of, and those were super fun. I actually love the whole. I find the spirit realm to be rather fascinating, and so I love that I got cast in a couple of those as well.
So what kind of roles were those TV roles? Were they dramatic or they comedy or?
Those were dramatic TV roles. Yeah, and then also as far as I got to act with my daughter in a short film called Colors, and she was probably about 4, something like that. And that she was such a natural. I just absolutely love being able to have my own daughter.
She takes after her mother. Takes after you.
She did. She didn't decide she wanted to pursue it or anything like that. She's like, it's too hot and uncomfortable. But man, if I could learn lines as easily as she learned her lines, I would be quite happy.
Wow. How do you really get into a character role as an actress, or even voiceover work or audiobooks? What is the most successful techniques and secrets that you could say that would, if someone wanted to do that they would be able to have a better chance of success, of course?
Well, I mean, when it comes to acting, the more you understand your character, the better. The more you can relate to your character and really make their needs your own needs. I think that's really the essence of it. And then, from there, there's so many different techniques, going to acting school. I highly recommend training. There are ways that when you're working on something on your own, it's very different than when you get up and you've got people looking at you, and being able to get that focus where you are believing that moment, even though you're surrounded by all these things that could easily remind you that what you're doing isn't actually a real moment. It's a staged moment, but it has to be very real to you. I feel like that's really the essence of acting is believing and reacting.
Well, it sounds almost like, I remember when back in junior college, there was a book called Worlds to Come, and it said, when I know myself, then I'll be free. So I'm sure that has something to do with that. Got to know yourself and like what you're doing. And then
I think acting is I'm sorry, I cut you off. Go ahead.
I said, then put everything into it, of course.
I think acting is a great tool to get to know yourself better as well.
Well, yeah, you probably have to imagine you're in the other role, whatever you're doing, and put yourself into it over 100%. And then forget about anything else. You're totally into the role. It's a wonderful tool for self-exploration, and also finding yourself in other people, which I think is really beautiful. I think we're living in a very divided world. Excuse me. And so I think that's really what, art and entertainment can help bridge those divides. But especially as an actor, being able to show people what it is to be somebody that they have no idea how it is to walk in somebody else's shoes. But hopefully if they can feel some empathy for these people on the screen that they wouldn't otherwise
know or understand, I hope that that does help people to have more compassion for other people.
Well, yeah, you don't know unless you're in someone else's shoes, you really don't know what's going on. Can't understand that. You have to really be in their shoes to really truly understand what's happening, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, but you know, and you can use your imagination for sure to make it to at least get closer to that.
Oh, I see.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
That's wonderful. You have so many, you're multi-talented, you have so many talents.
Thank you.
I know that you've done some directing also, and you're a producer and director also. Tell me, what's a typical day? Actually, a typical day of all these things, of being an actress or being a producer or director, and how did you get involved in producing and directing?
Well, I did a lot of directing of the voiceover demos when I was teaching. You know, that was really my main full-time job for a while. And so that was really how I got started there. I've also done some short pieces to focus on environmental issues. And so those were just really self-directed projects when it comes to, this is something I want to do. This is something I think would be important. And so I ended up getting involved directing, you know, those particular projects because of that. And I actually hosted and produced a roundtable with climate scientists and people that I know who are working in the space of climate restoration, which was really fantastic. And I wanted to do something where it didn't feel just like a bunch of scientists having a conversation that people couldn't relate to. I wanted to make it relatable and accessible and really pull people in on an emotional level to the issues that they were working on. So I was able to bring in other content to really help color it, and some music, and a really wonderful conversation with amazing, brilliant minds. And I had some assistance with editing on that from my friend Lincoln. And he did an amazing job. He was really super helpful. So it really just depends. It's very a little bit of this, and then I'm doing something else, and then I come back, and then I'm doing something else. What was that?
I said you collaborate with different people, it sounds like that.
Right? Yeah, definitely. Yeah. But the writing of Revolution Earth, I'd say, has been feels a little bit like a culmination when it comes to being able to find this beautiful venue for self-expression, and you know, really merging it with years of learning on the ground and working within the climate community. So it's the thing I'm most excited about.
Oh, great. Have you ever had performance anxiety now in your acting, or any of the things, whether it be a voiceover or you know, audiobooks, or any performance anxiety beforehand? And if you did, how would you handle it?
Oh, totally. Oh, yeah. So much performance anxiety. You know, when I was, I'm gonna take a sip of water for a second.
Okay.
When I was doing theater on a regular basis, I remember I really liked to, I had this thing that I would plant in my head before walking onto stage. And it was when I graduated from the American Academy of Dramatic Arts, my girlfriend, Carrie, and I, we went up to Santa Cruz, and we got a job working for a bungee jumping company.
Oh.
And I remember before jumping, I was terrified, you know, in terms of performance anxiety. There's serious anxiety with jumping off this crane over the parking lot in Santa Cruz. And I remember feeling like, okay, it's kind of like going onto stage, that once you jump, you can't get back up. I'm not going to be able to like go back and change my mind. And so I might as well enjoy it. You have to, just really let go and allow yourself to be thrown into that moment.
Wow.
And be really focused and present in the moment that you're in. So I would use that analogy for bungee jumping on a regular basis, because I would get stage fright all the time. So, but somehow that helped me, of like just letting go of the fear.
Oh, just letting go. Okay, that sounds like, thanks for sharing that story. That's interesting. Now, have you ever had rejection? There's rejection all over, especially in entertainment. And if you do, how have you handled it?
Yeah. I mean, you audition for all kinds of things, and there's a lot of things that you're not going to get. The exception is when you actually get the roles that you audition for. So I think as far as handling it, I mean, it's just a fact of life as an actor. And so you just have to go, okay, somebody else was more right for this role. And how can I continue to improve? How can I continue to get better? How did I feel about the audition? Did I feel like I was enough in the moment? Or did I maybe that stage fright got in the way? Maybe I need to be more present, and also breathing is super, super helpful. So that's one of the things that I would do a lot too, is like just grounding myself in my breath beforehand to get present. Sometimes too, when going on stage, touching furniture would be helpful for me, just to kind of ground me in my space and make me feel connected to the room that I was in. So I think it's just using it as a tool of like, okay, how can I continue to improve and get better? Because that's what it's all about.
That's a very good way of looking at it. You want to get better, not worse, that's for sure.
Yeah, exactly.
I see.
Yeah.
What would you say is your all-time? Now you've done stage work and also in acting. What is your all-time favorite performances? Stage or acting or anything. It could be voiceover, it could be audiobook or whatever. And what is there about it that stands out? And also, what is a performance that you found that was the opposite, that you wish you could forget, that it didn't work out? Well, let's say you've had I don't know if you ever had a time where you try so hard to make a performance work and for some reason it didn't.
Well, these are great questions. First of all, I'm going to try to think of what my all-time favorite would have been. There was a short film that I really, really loved called Right Hand Red. And I played the mother of my daughter was challenged, and it was exhausting just taking care of her and getting through the day. And, she had a lot of strength to carry through. And I loved that process because I had Craig Gilbert was the director of that, and he just really let the actors go. And I just felt such a sense of trust. And there was just such a great group of people who were working together that I felt like he helped bring out the best in everybody, because I just really enjoyed his process of working. Was fantastic. And then also Laura in The Glass Menagerie is probably one of my all-time favorite roles that I played. And that was actually when I got my equity card. That was down on Sanibel Island, which got decimated by one of the last hurricanes.
Really?
Yeah, but that was such a beautiful, I love Laura. I love her vulnerability, her sensitivity. It was probably definitely one of my all-time favorite roles that I played from beginning to end, as opposed to just learning a monologue and going, I'd love to get cast in this someday. Yeah, that's classic. I mean, Tennessee Williams.
You love that. Okay.
Yeah.
Was there
And
one? Okay.
go ahead.
No, go ahead. What was it? You gonna
No,
say?
what was the other question that you had again?
Well, that was your all-time favorite. Was there ever a time that you tried really hard to make a performance work, whether it be acting or voiceover or audio, whatever you're doing, and for some reason it didn't work? And if so, how were you able to handle that?
I definitely have had moments where I've seen myself and gone, oh God, oh no. Oh, it's hard. It really is. There are some roles that you feel very supported in. And then other times that fear of being on the spot has gotten in the way of me feeling like I could really grab myself. I think there are some TV roles that I can think of where I had moments where I was definitely like, just did not feel like I did my best work, which is very difficult, and it's very hard when it's memorialized. You can't go back and redo it. If you are on stage and you feel like you didn't do your best work, you go back in the next night and you just keep making it better. So yeah, I'm trying to remember the name of the projects though, but I'm remembering the moments that I saw myself back. It was like, oh God.
One that didn't work out so well, that's what you're saying? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I'm sure it'll come back to you. I mean,
Yeah.
Was there one that was, you'll never forget it, but it was so bad that you want to forget it, even though you'll never forget it? I don't know if there was anything like that. A role. Is there any project like that?
I wish I could forget.
You want to forget? You'll remember, but you want to forget. Yeah.
I think that early on, you're always going to see yourself back, and it's going to be hard. I still have a hard time watching myself.
I see.
I don't really love seeing myself back. I can be very self-critical, and I can also recognize, okay, there are moments that I might really enjoy, but then also moments where I just cringe. As far as a particular project, I guess, so I'm having something that is standing out in my mind. And I don't know that I would say I wish I could forget this, but I do think it is a humorous anecdote, which is when I was in high school, because I told you I went to high school in Rome, Italy. And that was where I did my first straight play theater work, actually. And I was playing Ismene in Antigone. And I was so surrounded by Italians that I started picking up the hand gestures. And there was the scene where Antigone is about to leave, and I don't want her to leave. I'm afraid she's going to die. And I'm like, Antigone! Antigone! Wow. And I just used to get joshed for that quite a bit after the fact. Everyone remembered that the American was picking up the hand gestures.
That sounds like quite a comical experience, but
yeah.
You'll never forget it. You want to forget it, maybe, but you'll never forget it. Okay. Are there any times when you're into your role, you forgot your lines, and if so, how do you handle that?
The main thing I'm actually remembering right now is when I was on the stage with somebody else who forgot their lines. And it just felt like total panic, because then it was harder to figure out how to get the other person back on track, because I couldn't remember the line that I needed to say in order to get that person on track. And I feel like we probably sat there for a moment or two with nothing, and then did some kind of circular thing where I threw out some lines that may not have been the right ones. And somehow we just kind of pulled it together on stage.
Have you ever done any? Have you ever improvised on a role?
Yeah. Interesting, because I feel like I typically don't tend to feel like I've got a lot of space to improvise, but there was one director I was working with that I feel like did give some he allowed for improvisation as being part of it. And then there were also some roles I did where it actually was supposed to be improvised, where you knew who you were, you knew who the other person was, you knew what their objectives were, you knew what your objectives were, and what just happened. And then you just went from there. Actually, that happened a couple times. And I love it. And I always thought I would hate that, because I hated improv. You know, when you're first starting out in acting classes, frequently there'll be improvisation classes that you take, but it's kind of like, how clever can you be to pick up the next line? And I hated that so much. But if I know who I am and I know what's going on, then I love improvisation.
Well, sometimes.
In fact, I did a short.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
Excuse me, what were you saying? Okay.
There was a short film I did.
Okay.
And God, I'm trying to remember the name of it. But there was a considerable bit that he really allowed me to improvise at the very beginning of the scene. And it ended up being a piece that I kept on my reel, actually.
Oh, so some of them you love and some of them you don't. It depends.
Yeah.
Depends on the experience, right? Okay.
Yeah. No.
They say practice makes
like
perfect. Oh. Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, you do have a lot of talent, that's for sure. We are multi-talented. There's so many different areas. Yeah. What would be the typical day now, and all the different, whether it be acting, whether it be directing or producing, or even whether you do voiceovers or audiobooks, any typical day on these different areas that you do?
I think I have a typical day, and there are no typical days. But I would say I got a project in yesterday for a voiceover job, and I'd say it started out with trying to deal with technology and having the technology not work for me for some reason, and then having to go through and get some troubleshooting in, and then knocking out some tracks. So yeah, and then, but beyond that, I really have been focused on writing, and I've been really lucky that I've been able to have a lot of flexibility when it comes to how the schedule works, and every day is different, but I'm managing to find the time.
And what type of writing are you talking about? Are the script writing, or is it?
Yeah, the pilot for Revolution Earth.
Oh, that's great. How do you get the ideas then for script writing and everything? How are you able to do it and be creative and come up with something new and unique?
From the real world and from the things that are important to me. So I have been, I think paying attention to what's happening in the world helps with ideas, and also just being in the center of issues and researching. That's what helps give me the ideas. I want it to be based on the real world. And then, but then the characters are, a lot of them are reflective of things that are important to me, or with various dynamics that, you know, the way relationships work, when those relationships are working, when they fall apart, really learning how to stand up for yourself, how to speak out for yourself. You know, my central character in Revolution Earth, I really wanted to portray someone who was learning how to find their voice, learning how to assert themselves in the world. And then that's what helps lead to her being able to have an impact and help make the world a better place for her daughter, for her
Sounds
kids.
great. You got a plan. You're planning your work and working your plan. Do you have anybody that's inspired you as far as an actress or actor? Anybody in particular?
Well, I mean, of course, Meryl Streep, Jodie Foster, God, Kate Blanchett. She's just freaking amazing. They're all amazing. God, I also really love Jennifer Lawrence. I think is really, really wonderful. Kristen Stewart was frigging phenomenal playing Diana. There's so many really amazing actors. But yeah, those are just offhand a few that I find super, super inspiring.
And what type of movies now are you into, that you really get into, or do you like them all, or science fiction or comedy or drama, or of any of these different areas? Is there a particular
I tend to
movie?
gravitate toward drama, but I also really love thrillers and things. I love things that really dig into people's psychology. So I love psychological thrillers.
Mhm.
And I also love a little bit of fun, a little bit of intrigue, action, adventure. One of my favorite TV series from ages ago was Alias, because Jennifer Garner was just such a chameleon. And so, and you've got the intrigue of each episode. There's a little action and fun. So I like a mix, but I tend to gravitate towards fun action, adventure, thriller dramas.
Okay. Any comedies or any romantic?
I mean, I enjoy good comedy every once in a while, but I don't tend to seek them out. But every once in a while, I'll be totally in the mood. And there is one comedy that I would consider. Am I blanking on the name of it? Zoolander.
Oh,
This is an old comedy, and not the sort of thing I would have thought I would have loved so much, but I watched it over and over and over again because I found it hilarious. It's an old one.
well, it's all kinds of movies. Any particular
Yeah.
movies that you've seen that really stand out, you will never forget?
Well, I like to say I was super inspired by Erin Brockovich.
Oh, yeah. Julia Roberts played the role in that. Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, of course, she was a powerhouse, but it was very inspiring to me to see a woman make such a big difference. And so I do tend to make a comparison there in terms of Revolution Earth and there being some similarity to Aaron Brockovich. But I also I'm like looking at old movies right now, but The Color Purple also was one of my all-time favorite films.
Yeah, that was the one
But
with
there've
Oprah Winfrey. That's where she got her start.
Yeah. But of course, there have been so many other really brilliant films since then. And I don't know, my brain's not going directly to any of those because
Well, there's classic movies. I mean, a favorite of mine is It's a Wonderful Life. You know, with Jimmy Stewart and Donna Reed.
Oh yeah.
That's one of them. That is. No one is a failure who has his friends and an angel on his wings every time the bell rings. What a movie! You can see that over and over again, and it brings tears to my eyes. And it's just the way it was done, the way it was filmed, the whole storyline.
All About Eve. Speaking of old classics too, I loved All About Eve.
All About Eve. That's another one. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, you know, remember Gone with the Wind, or Love Story. There's different, all kinds of things. Romeo and Juliet.
Epic.
Yeah.
Yeah. They did a version with Paul Rudd. I went to acting school with him and did a play with him as well. It's always great to see people.
Have you ever met and worked with any celebrities at all in your any television and radio work at all?
Yeah. So I did Bloody Poetry with Paul Rudd and Adam Scott in Los Angeles, and they've gone on to have pretty phenomenal careers. I met Danny DeVito on set, and he's just frigging adorable. Like so sweet.
Taxi. He did Taxi. It's right.
Sweet. Oh yeah, and I met Mary Lou Henner. Oh, yeah. And I went to Christmas dinner at Jeff Conway's house, who played the actor and on Taxi and was Kaniki in Grease. You know,
who was in Grease? Did you say? What was it?
And Casey Kasem, who was amazing.
Oh, that's the DJ. That was a DJ. Oh yeah.
Yeah. His daughter Carrie and I went to school together and went up to Santa Cruz together for the bungee jumping. But he was just very sweet, just a sweet man.
Nice, very nice guy, huh? Yeah.
Yeah.
You've had some very interesting experiences. That's you.
Yeah.
Oh.
They're still collecting.
It sounds like it. Now you like all the careers that you're involved with, and you wear many hats, of course. Is there any particular one that you like the best, or do you like them all the same? Acting, producing, directing, writing, voiceover work, or commercials, and also are there any particular commercials that have ever stood out from you in your experience?
I think that for me right now, writing it's just where my head's at right now.
Okay.
And the whole thing of being able to get something created that I feel like I want to be in the world is the main thing for me. That to me would be my, the contribution that feels like the most important thing for me to do in my life right now is to get that done.
Even though you like all the other ones that you've done.
Oh, I love all. Yeah. You
love everything. You put your mind, body, heart, and soul into everything you're doing. Sounds like. Yeah.
It's but you have to be selective. Sometimes you have to say, okay, I'm not going to focus on that. I'm going to focus on this right now. And there's a time for everything.
I see. Just the right time, huh?
Yeah, exactly.
That makes sense. So, that all does make sense very much. Yeah. Let me ask you, if you had to do it, okay. You ever had somebody that when you directed, it was difficult to direct, and then and how were you able to overcome that?
Yeah, I think that the big thing is that we can all get in our own ways sometimes. And so once again, I think coming back to breathing has always been really, really helpful. Or sometimes if I'm directing a student or something, I'll just get them to like jump around, loosen up their body. There's just little techniques that can make all the difference in the world when it comes to just getting somebody out of their own way and getting them to be in the moment and energized and relaxed, because that's where you want to come from to do your best work. And
have you won any awards as an actress? And also, have you ever entered any film contests or festivals and won any awards?
I did win an award for National Society of Arts and Letters, Best Actress for the Southeast United States. This was quite a few years ago. And I have not entered any of my work into any festivals yet.
Oh.
And that will be a fun thing to start focusing on doing.
Okay, so you did win some award for films, but you just never entered a festival. That's what you're saying.
Well, that was actually, it was a competition, National Society of Arts and Letters, and it was just a competition. So it was acting, some monologues.
And that's what you won for, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Gotcha. Well,
Yeah.
Well, I must say, ARIA MCKENNA, you have had and continue to have a very exciting and a fulfilling life as an actress, as a producer, as a director, as a voiceover artist. You've done it all, right?
Thank you.
You're welcome. If you had to do anything over again now in your life and your career, would you do anything differently?
Yeah. So to be, perfectly transparent, I've got some neck issues that are quite painful. And I would have taken them more seriously. I would have taken it more seriously earlier on and stuck with physical therapy or gotten to the bottom of it early. Like I would have gone to the doctor more earlier when I did not feel like I could deal with it because I had too much going on and I didn't want to deal with going to the doctor. I think that's the main thing that I would do differently.
Well, if you're healthy, you're wealthy. That's for sure. It's important.
Yeah.
Well, money in the world is a main thing if you don't have your health. That's for sure. We all want to make money. Right. So health is important. Do you have any present projects at all, Ariel?
Primarily the voiceover spots when they come up, and the Revolution Earth. It's really, that's my real passion project right now.
And are there any future dream projects you haven't done that you really like to see yourself doing in the future?
For a long time I had a dream of playing Maggie the cat in Cat on the Hot Tin Roof. But I have gotten very into the climate work as well, and really want my career to have impact. So I kind of passed up an opportunity to audition for that, even though it was really my dream role, but I was very busy focused on Revolution Earth and on climate work.
So you passed up that opportunity? Okay. I
did. Yeah.
Well, you never know. Maybe you can do it again.
Maybe. Yeah.
Maybe there's a special role for you somewhere.
Yeah. But it's definitely, like I said, right now I think it's great. Working in front of the camera has given me so much experience in terms of understanding how everything works, and also really understanding character work and all of that. But I feel like that's really also helped me to be able to put this into the work that I'm doing writing right now.
Oh, yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
Now how can people if people want to find out more about you, tell me about the links and give me all the entertainment website? You have IMDb, or you have a Facebook page or a YouTube channel or anything else?
Yeah. So they can go to ariamckenna.com for one thing. And I want to make sure that my website is properly functioning. There's globalcoolingproductions.com. And there's also Revolution Earth on Facebook. And I'm going to be updating that as things progress on Revolution Earth. But if they go to Facebook and look up Revolution Earth, they should be able to find that there as well. Also, Global Cooling Productions and
You have a YouTube channel. You have a YouTube channel, also an IMDb page, and LinkedIn. You have all that.
Yep, that's right. I've got LinkedIn. Definitely, be a shout on LinkedIn.
And the YouTube channel, right? An IMDb page.
I do. I have the YouTube channel, and I've got quite a few of my shorts up on the YouTube channel for Global Cooling. The Global Cooling Project has a playlist for a bunch of shorts that I have been involved with.
Great. A little bit of everything. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. I tell you what, time's gone by fast. I've really enjoyed talking to you and interviewing you, ARIA MCKENNA. Like I say, you're, moving forward, you have so much talents and abilities, and a nice smile. You do a little bit of everything. You're very versatile, whether it be acting or producing or directing or audio book or even voiceovers. So that's quite a career going forward.
Thank you.
I want to thank you very much, ARIA MCKENNA, for being such a delightful guest. The time has gone by fast, and I've enjoyed talking to you.
Likewise. Great meeting you.
You too.
Yeah.
And I want to say in closing, as we wrap up the show and close the show, I just say to all my fans and friends, always keep a smile on your face and a song in your heart. And until next time, happy trails and blaze out.
Ladies and gentlemen, if you would like to be a guest on an entertainment talk show, please send us an email at amazingoriginalJBshow@gmail.com. All of our episodes will appear on YouTube and Facebook and receive over 3,000 views. Don't forget to sign up for our YouTube channel, and every guest will receive a complimentary DVD of their appearance on the show. Remember, we are much better than a podcast. And now, the amazing, original Johnny Blaze has just left the building. Good night. God bless.